Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is Taxes FAQ, and I'm Kyle Dugan of Jupiter Tax LLC, located here in Jupiter, Florida. So I've had a number of questions about the massive change to the PPP loan program contained inside the recent 2021 federal spending bill and stimulus package. Over the past couple of months, there have been an ongoing national conversation in regard to the deductibility of business expenses that were paid for by the proceeds from a PPP loan. Why, you might ask? Because the Treasury Department recently announced that they would be following the normal tax protocol in regard to the deductibility of expenses that are paid for from the proceeds of a forgiven loan. What does that all mean? Well, it is normal that a business is not allowed to double dip and obtain a tax benefit twice from the same thing. For me as a tax professional, this is just a normal tax law logic. Let me briefly explain the normal logic behind this kind of thing. The theory is that for any particular business expense or even a personal expense, there should not be a double tax benefit attached to any one item. What happened with the Paycheck Protection Program was that small businesses, and yes, some large businesses too, were given free money by the taxpayers, and that money was intended to primarily go towards payroll in order to keep people employed during the coronavirus pandemic, but also to pay some other necessary expenses to keep their business afloat. Now, while that was structured as a loan, the loan, or part of the loan, was forgivable, not necessarily all of it, thus making it free money. Most of the time with forgiven debt, the IRS is required to charge income tax on that forgiven debt. But the original CARES Act that created the PPP loan program states that the IRS will not charge tax on the forgiven amount of the loan. Well, since they can't charge tax on the forgiven portion, the IRS came back and said that under the doctrine of not receiving a double tax benefit, the expenses paid for with that forgiven money were not forgivable because that money was provided for free. By eliminating the tax deduction, the IRS eliminated the double tax benefit. It simply makes some logical sense that the tax deduction that the business would normally have for those same expenses should not be allowed. Now, for me as a tax professional, this makes some logical sense, and I take this for granted, but I totally understand how the broader small business world would be taken aback by this. They viewed it as a double hit. The first whack came from the revenue drop due to the pandemic and stay-at-home order, and now they're being told that they can't deduct normal business expenses, which is going to result in a higher tax bill to be paid with that money, some were thinking. I do understand where a small business owner would be coming from, arguing against this action. But in the December 21st, 2020 Omnibus Spending Act, which included that $900 billion pandemic relief package, Congress included a legal fix to this, directly overriding normal protocol and reversing the IRS announcement. What Congress did is that they put into statute, because it didn't previously exist, that the legislative intent of the original CARES Act was that there would be no change in the deductibility of the business's expenses that were paid for by the free money from the PPP loan. So this addresses this massive concern that businesses had, especially as we're only a few months away from when their business tax returns are due. Again, even though if the expense were paid for by free money through the PPP loan, there is now no change in the deductibility of the business expense. So if you're a small business owner and you were concerned about this, that concern has been alleviated. The expenses that you paid with your PPP loan money, there will be no change in how you deduct that. It fixes the entire issue. This is a really big deal for small business owners that were facing potentially large tax bills because of this. The expenses that you paid with your PPP loan are fully deductible as a normal business expense, and the loan will still be forgiven. On top of that, they also included in the legislation a simplified process for forgiveness of loans. less than $150,000. They also authorized a second round of loans for small businesses that experienced a 25% or greater reduction in revenue due to the pandemic. These are items that probably won't get nearly as much mainstream media attention as some of the other provisions in the bill, such as the extension of unemployment benefits and direct checks to taxpayers. But if you're a small business owner and you were concerned about the potentially large tax bill that you may have been prepared for or may not have been prepared for because of the non-deductibility of some of those business expenses, well, worry no more, because that has been fixed for the time being. But if you're a small business owner with questions about your PPP loan or other small business tax matters, you can set up a phone call with me or set up an appointment by video or in person to meet with me and go over some of the questions you have and see if it'd be good if we work together. My main website is jupitertaxprep.com, and then my phone number, 561-247-5876. Thank you, and have a great day.